This is our second office hours, and we want to respond to questions that have come up about the course, but also we want to talk a little bit about the discussion forum this past week. But first we have a question. Bill, someone has written, I am just curious, do we get one certificate at the end of the duration of the class, or do we receive certificates for each separate part that we complete? Remember, we have 9 mini-courses in this whole long ChinaX. Either way, I'm in it for the duration. Well, we're really glad she's in it for the duration, but what's the answer to her question?
So the answer is that you'll get a certificate for every part of the course that you complete. So at the end of the day, you could get 9 certificates and a certificate for the entire enterprise.
Wow.
An entire wall could be filled with our certificates.
Right, and these are still free?
And these are still free.
Oh.
So in order to get, let me tell you what it takes to get a certificate. I have the rules right in front of me. It means that you have to receive an overall score of 75% or higher to get a certificate. That is a passing grade. And I want you all to know that this is a higher bar than Harvard College students who can pass a course with 60%, at least historically. So this is a tougher course than.
Okay. So the last thing is all these mini courses are going to remain open to the very end of the course, so they can always do. If they come in later, they can do an earlier mini course as well.
That's right. That's right. You can, as they come out, you can go back, forth, ahead.
Right.
Go.
Okay. So the other thing that we have to deal with is some questions that came up. Can you improve the audio? The audio level was low last time. Yes, we're working on it. Discussion forums. Yeah, we all know we need to build a better discussion forum mechanism. No question about it. And then could you put together a book list, sort of a book list for each module? And so, Bill, which book list do you want to do?
Well, I'll do the book lists for all of the second half of the course, which means that Peter has to do them now for the first half of the course.
Why don't we reverse this? Why don't you do them for this part of the course, because you won't have to do as many.
The problem is, I think it's a great idea, so I think we should do it. However, the amount of reading that we could potentially assign is not going to make your lives easier.
And you have to promise us to sing the Dynasty song every day if we're going to give you a book list, okay? Good. We've had some really nice quotes coming in from people.
Yeah, let me read this first one, Peter. I'm working in an entertainment company, and we just opened our first show in China. We'll be opening 4 more theaters in the next 3 years. The cultural gap is huge, and I already feel that I understand my Chinese colleagues better after these 2 weeks of ChinaX. The overview of China history, language, culture opened my eyes. So think how good it is after 2 weeks, what it will be like after 2 years.
Oh, well,
we'll be done by
then. And another quote, I signed up for the course because I find it hard to digest news about China when I know absolutely nothing about the history and culture. I believe that we cannot gainfully work with other cultures without seeking out and understanding about the history, the development of their culture, and the idioms that motivate their lives. I think that's a nice sentiment.
Right.
And that's certainly one that we want to respond to.
And it's also one that when you read newspapers, magazines, articles about China, think to yourselves, how does that author know what they think they know about China? By the end of this course, you may well know more.
Indeed. And in fact, I think, given what I read in the newspaper, you will know more. So we did have 2 discussion forums this time, and the first was a quote from the Canon of Yao, the story in the Book of Documents about what we regard as the sort of legendary sage king Yao, the first of the great sage kings. And we gave the quote, and we asked people to sort of talk about what they thought the qualities were of Yao that came through here, of Yao as an ideal ruler. Among the thousands of responses, it just isn't a lottery. We've plucked out 2.
Marjorie Goldstein, she writes, according to this text, Yao was thoughtful, even-tempered, and concerned with the common good, rather than with his own glory. He was patient, accomplishing his goals in stages. He also understood that human society needed to be conducted in congruence with the reality of the natural world, rather than trying to impose some theoretical structure of society onto the natural world. And where is Yao today, Peter? when we really need him.
Indeed, one could ask that question. Let me give you another passage, another quote. This is from Kate CM. She said, well, what I find especially interesting is that what you call accomplishing his goals in stages. She's commenting now on another person's comment, right? For me, this first of all means that he was able to prioritize the different aims he had, and since everything worked out, this suggests that he had a deeper understanding of how things and in which order they had to be done. And there's a lot of insight into that in that statement, because there is this concern in the Chinese tradition with what comes first, what comes second, what comes last, what is fundamental, what is secondary. And I think it's always good in history for us also to think about that question. What are the fundamental issues? What are the primary issues that we have to deal with?
And that you don't tackle them all at once.
That's right. Even though I sometimes tend to try to put them all in the same sentence. We also had a second discussion forum, and that was, remember those two images, right? And there were two graves, and we asked, well, what can we say about the societies that created them? How do they differ? How are they similar? And again, rather than us trying to give our opinion, I think we have some great comments by some of our learners. And again, we've chosen them out of many, many different possibilities. So
this is one from Heather Swanson, and then it's responded to by Winnie Bai. I think I was a bit surprised by what appears to be a jade tool that was highly finished and appears to be in what seems to be a less elaborate tomb. Though with both tombs, great care has been taken to make a respectful burial, so both are presumably high-status individuals.
And that's how we read it too, that jade must have been some sort of a talisman or artifact that somebody of significance, political, social significance had, and that putting that in the grave was a sign, even in this Neolithic society, of their importance. The other thing I noticed about that was that that in the Neolithic period, that you already had people working jade. And jade is hard to work, right? It's not found everywhere. It has to be imported from somewhere. So in fact, a lot of the jade today comes from Henan and places like that in the far west, in Xinjiang. So I don't know where this jade came from, but it is a sign of a lot of social stratification. There's higher and lower classes. We have...
Then Winnie, let me tell you, Winnie responds by saying that these photos are amazing, and they show the following about the Yangshao culture. Common burial rites. Both bodies have been carefully and neatly laid out with their feet pointing down and inwards. The bodies have been buried with purposefully selected and placed belongings. In social class, the grave of one body is spacious and deep and includes a room-like section holding multiple bowls. The other body is in a small, shallow grave with just two items, one a jade tool placed near the hand. This shows the different roles and wealth in society, such as a politician, and she thinks a laborer. And technological development, the bowls and the tools show a level of sophistication in creating items used for living and working.
I thought these were really great points that you.
These are terrific points.
Look, this is the end of our office hours for today, but I thought we should tell you something about the next module that will be opening up later this week. And we call that basically our shortcut for it is legitimation. What it is a discussion of the first two great attested Chinese dynasties, the Shang dynasty and the Zhou dynasty. And we asked the question there is, how in ancient China did people justify imposing power on others? And once you had imposed power, how did you justify overthrowing the people with power? So we have both the imposition of authority and revolution in this same module. And we very much hope you'll be there to join us.
And this is a question that will occur and recur throughout the course of Chinese history, right down to the present day. What makes a regime legitimate in its social context? How does one regime assume authority from another? And how does it establish a rule that can endure?
Thank you, and goodbye for this week.